church mistake. Okay. Oh, you can do it if you want to.
No, that's right. She wrote something, but I'll just call you.
We just want to, I'm right here.
Okay, fine.
We just want to remind people.
Yeah. There'll be not a
Okay.
problem.
And I'm not going to belabor it. I'm just going to boom, boom, boom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, but she was coming to you and visiting.
Yeah, they're very interesting. I'm so glad for that. I told her we were singing in the choir.
She does not even she's very organized. Yeah, very.
I like the younger. Yeah. We're inching our way down.
Good morning, everyone. Would you all rise, please, as you're able, for the opening song? It's number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In, 361 in the gray hymnal.
Open your ears to the song.
Thank you. You may be seated. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to church. We welcome people at home, over TV land, and YouTube, wherever you are. This is the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Venice, Florida, where we strive to be a beacon of liberal religion for the Southwest Florida area, and a refuge for all who seek a welcoming community. We don't care what your color is, your race, your ability, your class, whom you love, your gender expression, your political affiliation. Here we celebrate our differences as we learn from one another. I'd like to see if we have any visitors today. Anybody here for the first time? Okay. Yes, we have someone. Hello. Brian, your name is, right? Welcome, Brian. And you're a guest of our minister here today, Reverend Miller. We have now the ushers are going to pass the baskets in a minute, but Linda, you're going to tell about the announcements and where the money for the offering today will be going. Here's Linda Underwood.
Good morning. I'm Linda Underwood, a member of your congregation, the chair of the Welcome membership team. So if any of you are new and have any questions about this congregation, please feel free to tackle me after the service. We know about the new people, but do we have any of our longer-term members who this will be your last time here with us this Sunday? Anyone leaving? Bill, Twomies, Bob. Well, we'll miss you. We will miss you all. Don't forget, you can watch us on YouTube on Sunday mornings, and keep in touch through Facebook and our webpage. So you're really not that far away when you go north in the summer now. Okay, we have a couple of announcements. Tomorrow, May 2nd, is the last walking group at Pine Brook Park. We're going to do a little coffee afterwards. Anybody's welcome to come. The Writers Club is at 1 p.m. on Monday in Waters Hall, and Meatless Monday is 5 p.m. in Waters Hall. Map Makers is this Saturday, and there are several meditation classes happening on the campus. Please check out our calendar. You can find all of these either on our Facebook or on our webpage, uu.org, uucov.org. Brad Harden has an announcement.
Good morning, I'm Brad Harden, and I bet you all out here, when you go to the beach and you see a little piece of paper on there, you probably pick it up and take it, put it somewhere. Dee and I do that, and it's good for the soul. Maybe I shouldn't use that word here, but I have a real deal for you now. You people that are fairly new may not realize, but UCOV has adopted a section of East Venice Avenue, and we have volunteers that get together about 4 times a year, and we go out there and spend usually no more than an hour and a half, and we pick it up, and we get credit for that. And here's a couple of people that I think they're kind of addicted to this. When they look around, they see something, they pick it up. They don't make somebody else do it. So we're going to have a sign-up sheet on the social justice table, and we don't ask anybody to walk any further than they can. A lot of people that used to help us with this, unfortunately, can't do it anymore. And so we really need some help. We need to do it next week, if we can. So if you think you could do it a little bit, if you come out and sign up afterward, we sure appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad, and the other helpers that did that this morning. Reminder for those of you who have bought your tickets for Sri Lanka, don't forget to pick up your meals or go to the dinner tonight. It's too late to buy a ticket, but if you have a ticket, please utilize it. And Mo has an announcement also.
I wish I had a cute skit like that Ruth and Dee just had. That was very funny. So the Community Forum team is excited to remind all of you that we have a very important UCOV function this afternoon here at 4 p.m., free of cost, open to all of you and the general public. We are offering a presentation, and the topic is recent Supreme Court decisions and their impact on the separation of church and state. We have a presentation via Zoom from attorney Alex Bodakin from the Americans United for Separation of Church and State. And following the presentation, we will have a reactor panel of individuals who will be presenting different opinions and positions on the topic, which is the critical component, we feel, of this presentation. This is part of our steps working toward community outreach and bringing people together to share different opinions in a respectful, receptive manner. So our reactor panel will consist of Pastor Lynette McClellan from the Center of Hope, Reverend Michael Rao from the Episcopal Church, and also Rabbi Shul from the Venice Jewish Synagogue. We hope all of you can attend and look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
Okay. And let's see, after announcements, we now have a choral prelude. Never Turning Back by Pat Humphreys.
We're gonna keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never turning back.
We're gonna keep on singing loudly.
Keep on singing loudly. Keep on singing loudly. Never turning back. Never turning back. We're gonna work for change together. Work for change together. Work for change together. Never turning back. Never turning back. We're gonna keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Never turning back. Never turning back. Never turning back. Never turning back.
Hey, our call to worship. In Troubled Times by the Reverend Stephen M. Schick. From the loneliness of troubled times, we come to discover that we are not alone. Into the dwelling place of togetherness, we come to collect remnants of hope. From fear that all is lost, we come to discover what will save us. Into the remembered comfort of each other's arms, we come to feel the strength that has not yet vanished. From darkness, we come to wait until our eyes begin to see. In the refuge of fading dreams, we come to remove illusions and focus new visions. From despair that walks alone, we come to travel together. Recalling the dwelling place of generations, we come to pledge allegiance to being peace and doing justice. And now I will light the chalice. As we gather for worship with those words as our guide this morning, we light the chalice in recognition of Unitarian Universalism's second source, words and deeds of prophetic people which challenge us to confront the powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. And now we'll sing hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us. Be seated. Okay. Now we have the part in the service where we share our celebrations and joys, and then we'll share our sorrows and sadness. Right, first, we do our joys and celebrations, and Reverend Beth Miller will come out with the microphone.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Robert, and I'd just like to invite you all to a program we're going to do next Sunday at 3 o'clock here. We're going to show the Emmy Award-winning video of the life of Pete Seeger. And that's going to be a benefit, and the net proceeds will all go to the All Faiths Food Bank. And I'm going to sing a few songs of Pete's favorite songs, the ones that everybody knows, and hopefully you'll come and sing along with me. And I'd just like to let you know that I lived with Pete Seeger for about 6 months at one time, and I shared a friendship with him for over 40 years. And anytime I was ever with him, whenever he got to a place, the first thing he started to do before he talked to anyone was walk around and pick up litter wherever. So I'd like to commend you all, you litter pickers out there too, and I'm going to join you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Linda, and this is my baby sister, Sandy, and I'm really glad that we have a strong Facebook group because everybody welcomed her and knew who she was. So, thank you.
Somebody back there. Are you pointing to someone else? Okay, Barbara. She has to go. Okay, Barbara. Where's Barbara? Raise your hand, Barbara. I don't know. Yeah.
That's Barbara Smith. And I just wanted to share with you that yesterday I was randomly seated next to Polly Leland Mayer's daughter. And so it was a good chance to check up on her. For those of you who don't know her, she was our minister. She was a volunteer minister. She is a minister. She was our volunteer minister here for many years, and it was a joy to many of us, and she's doing well. I didn't quite get my full email that Sherry sent to me this morning. I think she said she's still getting down on her hands and knees, but she's enjoying her grandchildren.
Thank you for that. I know Polly, and I haven't heard about her in a long time, so thank you.
Thanks, finally. Sorry. Hi, I'm Eileen. Everybody probably knows me. This is going to be mortifying to our dear friend and member and choir member, Nancy Minaldi Scanlon. But she has the starring role in Venice Theater's upcoming Wind in the Willows. It starts May 20th, and I want everybody to go get a ticket, and we'll all be waving and smiling and laughing and having a fabulous time when we watch Nancy play Mr. Toad.
Thanks, Eileen. Congratulations, Nancy.
Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Kim McHugh, and yes, this is another butterfly report. A group of us met here this week and did mulching of the butterfly garden, and I brought and planted a tree that is called the Emperor's Candlestick, and it grows long spikes of multiple yellow flowers that attracts one butterfly, and it's called the Dinah Yellow. And if you're facing out here toward the fountain, it's to the left near the lake. And if anyone's here all summer long, it'll grow about a foot a week, and you're going to have a 12 to 15 foot Emperor's Candlestick out there. So enjoy the view.
Thank you. All right, do I see any more joys, Pat?
I guess we have joys we're holding.
We all have some joy, but any of the ones shared yet?
So how about anybody with sorrows or
Concerns?
concerns?
Hi, I'm Trudy Jacoby. Our friend Rosemary Hagan was in the hospital, in the new hospital, for 3 days this past week. I just found out about this yesterday. She's back in Aston Gardens now. She probably had a small stroke, they're not quite sure. But she sounded good this morning. She was hoping to come to church even, but of course she's too tired. And she's very sorry that she will miss the forum this afternoon. She especially asked me to say how sorry she is about that. But we're hoping to see her back soon.
Thank you.
In the back there.
Our good dear friend Joel Morrison is okay, but he had a heart attack, and he is in Sarasota Memorial South, the new one, which is a good thing. I spoke to Bev this morning. They put him in intensive care because he came out positive for COVID, although he's not feeling sick from that. So he cannot have visitors. His phone in the room is not working, so don't try to call him, but they'd love to have cards, and Bev will keep us updated. And his most deepest concern was he was going to miss choir this morning, so he's doing well.
Thank you.
Okay. We hold all these concerns in our thoughts and prayers.
Our words for prayer and meditation this morning are from Howard Thurman. The concern which I lay before God today is my concern for the life of the world in these troubled times.
I confess my own inner confusion as I look out upon the world. There is food for all.
Many are hungry.
There are clothes enough for all.
Many are in rags.
There's room enough for all.
Many are crowded.
There are none who want war.
War and preparations for conflict abound.
Let thy light burn in me, that I may, from this moment on, take effective steps within my own powers to live up to the light and courageously to pay for the kind of world I so deeply desire. Amen.
May it be so.
Now there's a choral interlude, I Am Willing, by Holly Neer.
There is hurting in my family. There is sorrow in my town. There is panic in the nation. There is wailing the whole world round. See more clearly, may the elders be more wise, may the winds of change caress us, even though it burns our eyes. For I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us, so lift me up to the light of change. Give me a mighty oak to hold my confusion. Give me a desert to hold my fear. Give me a sunset to hold my wonder. Give me an ocean to hold my tears. For I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those who go before us, so lift me up to the light of change.
Indeed, lift me up to the light of change. Good morning, everyone. It's good to be back with you again. And thank you, choir. Those pieces were both wonderful. Thank you so much. Our reading this morning is Prophets by the Reverend Clinton Lee Scott, a deceased Unitarian Universalist minister. He writes, "Always it is easier to pay homage to prophets than to heed the direction of their vision. It is easier blindly to venerate the saints than to learn the human quality of their sainthood. It is easier to glorify the heroes of the race than to give weight to their examples. To worship the wise is much easier than to profit by their wisdom. Great leaders are honored not by adulation, but by sharing their insights and values. Grandchildren of those who stoned the prophets sometimes gather up the stones to build the prophet's monument. Always, it is easier to pay homage to prophets than to heed the direction of their vision." I spoke with you last Sunday about the first of the 6 sources of our Unitarian Universalist faith, direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. We talked about dazzlement and being dazzled. And I told you that the 6 sources of our Unitarian Universalist statement of principles and purposes are intended to inspire us in our understanding of the 7, perhaps eventually 8 principles that we affirm as Unitarian Universalists as we pursue our own individual search for truth and meaning. Today I want to share some of my understanding of the 2nd source, words and deeds of prophetic people which challenge us to confront the powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. This is a very different type of inspiration than our own direct experience. Here, we are inspired by other people, by those who've had the courage and the energy to call out and take on injustice in the world. Throughout history and throughout the world today, such people, brave activists, confront social issues that harm people and the planet in unjust ways that could be changed for the betterment of all. I'm especially thinking today of the countless people of all races and ages who have confronted the powers and structures of evil that is racism and white supremacy. These particular powers and structures have been the bedrock of our country since its very beginning, but have reached a new urgency since the killing of George Floyd. We're being challenged again and anew by prophetic people, both victims and allies, to support social change. We are being called to help break down these structures, to help level the playing field for all people. But how do we relate to this? We cannot really turn away, but what do we do? How do we even think about all this? It's very big. Let's look for a few minutes at the general idea of prophetic people and their challenges to us as Unitarian Universalists. There are many modern-day prophets out there telling us what we can do to help. How do we evaluate their counsel for ourselves? We each have our own perspectives, and we each have our own capabilities, physically, mentally, and emotionally. How do we proceed? I'll repeat the source statement. Words and deeds of prophetic people which challenge us to confront the powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. That's a mouthful, I know, and it doesn't tell us what to do. It's meant to inspire, not necessarily to instruct. Prophetic words and deeds challenge us, and we must each decide for ourselves how we will confront the evil before us. What does it mean to be a prophet? Well, you're probably most familiar with the biblical prophets of old. In ancient Israel, a prophet was one chosen to declare a message, and the prophet spoke with, quote, the authority of the one who sent the message. Old Testament prophets like Isaiah and Micah and Jeremiah usually began their prophecies with, "Thus saith the Lord." It was understood in those days among the Israelites that what followed was indeed a message from God delivered by the prophet. The role of prophecy in ancient Israel was to rail against injustice or immorality and to implore the people to change their ways. It was a reminder to them of who they were at their best. And it was intended to inspire them to return to right relations with the community and to harmony with their God. Modern day people, especially religious liberals, are suspicious of the idea of prophets as messengers of God, right? Right. Some preachers still deliver what they believe to be God's will for their people, but most clergy in today's world, and certainly Unitarian Universalist preachers, don't believe God is dictating instructions through us. You would likely send me packing if I started my sermon with, "Thus saith the Lord," right? Modern day prophets whose prophecies we would pay attention to are more likely to look to the signs of the times and to consider the beliefs and values of their religion and to proclaim the disparity between the way things are and what's right in their understanding. In our case, we UUs would pay attention to the voices calling out conditions that go against our principles. Racism and white supremacy undermine our first principle, affirming the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Unregulated industries, to give you another example, unregulated industries that pollute the air and water undermine our seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Now that's not as exciting as "Thus saith the Lord," but it's more credible to our modern Unitarian Universalist ways of seeking truth and living our principles. Back to the second source. It says, words and deeds of prophetic people that challenge us. It's not just that we admire or appreciate what they say, but that we are challenged to react in some way. This statement, this part of the statement, encourages us to seriously consider accepting the challenge being laid before us. Further, these words and deeds then challenge us to confront the powers and structures of evil. It's not enough to simply be mentally challenged, to think about it, to be emotionally challenged, to feel sorry or sad or angry about injustice. More than that, we are being encouraged to confront in some way, to take on the powers and structures of evil, each according to our own conscience and abilities. This Unitarian Universalist stuff is getting a little harder now, right? And this isn't the end of it either. We are further instructed to confront the powers and structures of evil in a specific way, with a particular mindset, with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. Confrontation is pretty easy, but rarely comes with compassion and the transforming power of love these days. The rhetoric of disagreement and opposition has gotten progressively more hateful as political and social polarization has increased, and yes, we are outraged by all the polarizing shenanigans, but as Martin Luther King Jr. once said, hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. King wasn't talking about a kumbaya, let's all get along kind of love. Love can be tough. Love can tell harsh truths. Naming evil and injustice and denouncing the despicable actions of individuals or groups is an honored part of the prophetic tradition, but hate is not. Finding compassion in our hearts for those who seemingly uphold the powers and structures of evil is the biggest challenge of all, and we will never be perfect at it. Our compassion will fall short again and again. I know mine does. Sometimes it's so very difficult not to hate those who seem so hateful, but it is an aspiration of our Unitarian Universalist faith. As we look to this second source, prophetic words and deeds, to help us each decide what is good and what is just and what is loving, to nurture and channel our decisions to act upon those understandings, to inspire us to live the values that we speak, to call us back to our best selves when we stray, which we inevitably do. We are imperfect creatures. And to hold up the vision of a world of love and justice, a beloved community. Well, that's a tall order for a congregation, right? And a lot is expected of us as individuals, too, in Unitarian Universalism. What about the church's sanctuary, you may rightfully ask? A place of solace, an escape from the harsh realities of the complex public realm. What about religion as praise and celebration and thanksgiving? Retired minister and social justice activist Richard Gilbert struggled with this question throughout his career. He was one of our main activists in the world, and often shared, this reading by him is often shared where he said, as he was asked whether he is to savor or save the world. And he writes, to savor the sweet taste of my own joy, or to share the bitter cup of my neighbor, to celebrate life with exuberant step, or to struggle for the life of the heavy laden. Gilbert's answer is that we can't really savor the world unless we participate in saving it. They go hand in hand. We should do plenty of savoring and celebrating and praising and giving thanks. A faith community should definitely offer solace and uplift our hearts, but it also should call us to action. A serious faith, a religion worth practicing, and a church worthy of the Unitarian Universalist label is also about pursuing social justice. It calls its people to participate in saving the world. Prophetic voices give us guidance in doing so. Foy Valentine, in an article in Christian Ethics Today, writes, the prophet is the one who is taking the longer look, listening to a different drummer, and feeling the fire of their calling as it bursts to become fire in their belly. The one who discerns and interprets the signs of the times. There are numerous prophetic voices today calling us to act on behalf of justice. It's up to each of us to determine what voice speaks to us, what words and deeds challenge us and light a fire in our bellies. Today, we who are white are being called by our black sisters and brothers to listen to their voices of anguish and exhaustion over 400 plus years of oppression and to do something. Our thoughts and prayers are not enough when yet another black man is killed by police or killed by vigilantes or reported to police simply for being black. We are called to get past our apathy, sometimes in strong and angry words and deeds. We are being asked to understand our unconscious complicity and to add our considerable power to the struggle for true freedom, justice, and equity in America. There are a number of ways to use our power. Many of us here cannot take to the streets, and that's okay. We can start by learning as much as we can about America's history of institutional racism, anti-blackness, and white supremacy. From there, we can respond as we are able by writing letters, donating money, working on voter registration, advocating for reevaluation of policing, and more. In this time, when the world is on fire for change, who are the prophets that inspire you? What words and deeds have put a fire in your belly? Here are a few that have inspired me. Frederick Douglass inspires me. He was a former slave who became a prominent activist, author, and public speaker, a leader in the abolitionist movement. He continued to push for equality and human rights until his death in 1895. He said, "If there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom and yet deprecate agitation are men who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of its many waters. This struggle may be a moral one, or it may be a physical one, or it may be both moral and physical, but it must be a struggle." Martin Luther King Jr., of course, the most visible spokesperson and leader in the civil rights movement from 1955 until his assassination in 1968, best known for advancing civil rights through nonviolence and civil disobedience. Inspired by his Christian faith and the nonviolent activism of Mahatma Gandhi, he lit a fire in the bellies of millions and changed the world. He said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that." And as I said before, hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. And let us take these words to heart. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. May we who are white be silent friends no longer. We may not recognize their names, but the co-founders of Black Lives Matter, community organizers Patrice Cullors, Opal Tometi, and Alicia Garza, are prophetic voices of our own time. It began in 2013 with the use of hashtag Black Lives Matter on Twitter after George Zimmerman was acquitted in the shooting death of Trayvon Martin. Black Lives Matter became the nationally recognized slogan for street demonstrations following the 2014 death of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, and of Eric Gardner in New York City. Black Lives Matter is a simple but profound prophetic message in the context of American racism. I was inspired by the protesters in Minneapolis who, on the night of George Floyd's death, inspired many other protesters. Their prophetic words and deeds lit a fire in countless bellies, and soon there were protests in every state across America and throughout the world in many places. It was pretty stunning. Now, no one is happy that peaceful protests and demonstrations sometimes turn violent in some places. It is unfortunate that there were fires, that there was destruction of property and looting. But, as Martin Luther King Jr. also once said, riot is the language of the unheard. Riot is the language of the unheard. May America no longer turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to the ravages of white supremacy. And the activists in Washington, D.C., who, when then President Donald Trump had a huge fence erected around the White House, the People's House, they decorated that fence with posters, paintings, and flowers, turning it into a peaceful and inspiring symbol of the fire for justice, equity, and peace that burns in the bellies of all who long for the beloved community. Whose prophetic voices inspire you? Who and what puts this metaphoric fire for justice in your belly? I hope and pray that in the weeks and months and years ahead, this fire will continue to fuel the transforming power of love, burning away the evil structures of white supremacy and racism, and finally making America the best nation it can be. I leave you with this from Jane Elliott, internationally known anti-racism activist and diversity educator. First, she quotes Victor Hugo, who said, "No power on earth can stop a man with a dream or an idea whose time has come." And then she went on to say, "Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream, but we killed him, and we thought we had killed the dream. That dream is more alive today than it was when he was living. The idea of one race, the human race, is an idea whose time has come, and no power on earth is going to be able to stop it. May it be so. Amen. And I invite you to sing Forward Through the Ages, number 114. Please stand as you're willing and able. You may be seated. As we end this service, hear these words from the Reverend Barbara Peskin. Because of those who came before, we are. In spite of their failings, we believe. Because of and in spite of the horizons of their vision, we too dream. Let us go remembering to praise, to live in the moment, to love mightily, and to bow to the mystery. As we extinguish the chalice, may its light live in our minds and hearts and souls, guiding our way through the coming week. Amen.